Hello, we are back and we've got a couple of connectors that we are going to add flanges and add some fillets to. Again, once you get the main form or the main volume of your object, then it's good to come back and then edit those objects, add fillets or add flanges and things like that, just so you have a good base to work off of. So I'm going to try to add some fillets, and I'm going to go to solid, fillet edge, and I'm going to start with 0.5 as my next radius. And I'm going to select this edge, this edge, this edge, and this edge. I just kind of want to see if I can add a nice big fat fillet there and see what I get. And I'm going to hit done. And this comes up where a whole bunch of like different curves and showing radiuses and things like that. And that's a good thing because we actually want to edit that. What my goal is to have, see these nice big fat fillets right here to add structural support, and then have that fillet change as it's following this curve to 0. So I'm going to select this, and what I can do is just bring it back down to, what I can do is select it, and there we go. Up here I can type 0, or I can just type 0 on the keypad. And here, I think I'm also going to type 0. And then right here, I think I'll start 0 as well. Because between here and here, probably, well, maybe we could, let's see, maybe we'll do like 0.125. And then here, oh, now it's asking me to select a location. And I'm not really going to change that location too much, but I know there's another one here. All right, just move away for now. And there we go. There's the other one. So, just might have to move some things around. 0.125. And this one I'm going to bring back to the end here. And you want these two to be the same if you want it to be a nice clean transition in that surface. I'm going to leave these at 0.5, and then I'm going to come back and change this. 0. 0.125. And this is going to be 0.125. And you know what? I think I'm going to make that even smaller. You see how this is a representation of that curve? I think it might not do much. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. I'm going to hit enter, and all right, we've got some crazy things going on here. You can see it's actually got, it couldn't really make that transition right there too well, and it couldn't make this over here. So we've got some holes, which actually could be kind of interesting aesthetically, making this part like more interesting and even weirder. If we wanted to fill those holes, we could go back to surface and do edge curves and see if we can try to select those edges and fill them like right that. So you get this interesting series of scallops on the surface. All right, so now, all right, we're done. And I'm going to select all of those. Well, I'm going to select those and then those new surfaces. And say solid, create solid. And it'll think unable to create solid, which means that there's probably another little like hidden hole somewhere around here. I'm not going to get too far into it. I'm just going to do a couple steps backwards and try that fillet again in a different, maybe I'll just do this curve and this curve. And this one will be 0. And this one will be 0. And we'll see what we get. And we're probably going to end up with that same patch right in the middle, that same hole there. why don't we go for the gold and see if we can just easily patch that up. Solid, create solid. Still unable to create solid. Solid union. Failed. All right. And it's probably, there looks like to be some issues right here where there's like surfaces intersecting some other surfaces. So I'm not going to really press this too hard. The goal of showing you this fillet option, surface, fillets, is that you can have that fillet change. Where am I here? Solid fillet. You can have that fillet change along the curve it follows. So I'm just going to hit enter again. And I'm going to change this and move it over, let's see here. Can I do 0.1? And then that'll be 0. Come on, 0. No, doesn't want to do 0. I see. Okay, it won't let us do 0 because it's saying that it has to be something between 0 and 0.5. So why don't we just try to bring this down to 0.4? And again, this is, I'm also just keep on doing this because sometimes you just got to play around with it and see what works. And I don't think it's actually really going to work with a fillet just because this area right here is giving us some trouble. You can see that this curve or this surface is overlapping this surface ever so slightly, and that can cause some issues when trying to create a solid, which is fine. What I'll do instead is I'll do a flange or something like that. But what I'm going to do is you make a flange on this piece and just go through a quick example of how to do that. In our labs, we saw that we could make a flange, but that was based off of a planar surface or a connector that was planar. What we're going to do is just kind of extrapolate some points here to determine a good flange and just some good practices. So I'm going to come to curve from objects, and extract iso curve, and I'm going to extract an iso curve. And why don't we, I'm just going to try to look at this from a cross-sectional, or try to get a section view on this, because I want it to be more or less right around here. And this base geometry, and I should probably be working in this connector 4 layer here. In fact, I'll move this part over. Move objects to this layer, and then I'm going to come back to curve. Curve from objects, extract iso curve. On this surface, but I'm going to make sure that that iso curve is connected to the end of that other iso curve. And that's essentially going to be the start where I can then create that planar, the C-plane, so that I can then make some flanges. And, you know, it might be fine to just make those flanges for all 4. Now I'm going to come up to View, Set C-plane, and 3 points, and I'm going to select the center point here, this end point, and this end point. There we go. And then I'm going to come to View and set camera to C-plane top. And then I'm going to essentially continue what I did at the end of lab 4. But one thing I want to make clear is because this, while we're simplifying this and making some planar curves, it's actually going to be better if we shorten those curves at the ends. And I'm going to say intersection, object intersection, and I'm going to delete that, and I'm just going to, let's see, hide that, and we've got, oops, I keep doing that. View, set camera view top. I'm going to scroll in, and we've got this curve, this curve, this curve, and this curve. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explode those curves. Explode, and I'm just going to let's see here. I'm going to delete this inner curve. Actually, no, I'm not. Just for reference. And I'm just going to select this curve and join them. Same thing with this curve and this curve. And if you haven't guessed my next move already, oh, double curve. What's that about? Oh, those are the double curve is from the perspective view. If I were to move this out, that curve, you can see are the curves that are probably not planar. So I'm actually just going to delete those because I don't really care about them right now. Now what I can also do is to come back to set camera view, see plane top. If they were not on this plane, to ensure that they were on this plane, I can do project to C plane. And it will project those curves to the coordinate plane that I'm working in. Don't fail me now, Rhino. Okay, good. Enter, delete input, yes, perfect. So that ensures that they're planar if you're unsure. So I'm going to join those. And I kind of interrupted myself, but I'm just going to offset those curves ever so slightly by 0.02. That is perfect. Oh, you guys didn't get joined because I got distracted. Nope, I want to offset. And I'm not going to use these anymore. I'm just going to get them out of my way. I just wanted to make sure my offset wasn't too crazy. I think that's perfect. But what I want to do up here is I want to move these endpoints down. Because you can even see here, if I try to extrude this straight or perpendicular to the plane, I might not be able to get super far because this surface right here is going to go past that surface, and it might create some issues editing. So what I can do is I can chop it, I can cut it. Why don't I just see if I can just move some control points down just a little bit. And I might do that for the other ones as well. Why not? It'll take a quick second. And this one is kind of funny. And try not to move them out of the surface. Oh, I did the wrong one, of course. View, camera view, top. see here. I don't care about this one. I care about this one. So I'm just going to move it down. And I'll move this one down. Okay, cool. And then I'm just going to add a curve to it. Let's see, why don't we do tangent, tangent, because that's always fun. Wrong one. Okie dokie. So now I've got these objects. Join them. And I know that they're planar, so what I can do is I can just unhide my surface there, and I will come up to solid, extrude planar curve straight. I'll go back into a perspective view to kind of see how far I can get them. And my offset wasn't really a whole lot, so I might not be able to get them too far out. But every little bit helps. So we'll see how that goes. But let's see, let me get into a good view to show you. And you see I have it backed off. Again, that's because I can maybe go out a little further. And it's something you kind of have to see on the sides. And I'm getting lost in my own work. I think there we go. And you can see in some cases I did go a little too far over, especially with this one. That's probably because it curves in an opposite direction. So what I might want to do in this situation is extrude those separately, maybe in the opposite direction. Instead of doing both sides, I'll just do one side. But I think the best thing would actually be to adjust my offset to be a little deeper going down into that curve. And then what I can do is after that, I will then just join these together. Oh, that one also looks crazy. Anywho, I hope that kind of helps you understand, some of the interesting nuances when trying to, add these things where you might need to go case by case. Let's go in the opposite direction this way. Let's go in the same way. Not too far though. Let's do both sides. Oh man, that's a hard one. Anyway. Solid union. So sometimes you can get away with making them solid. And this situation, there's just like this little sliver sticking out, which is not ideal. So I recommend going back and changing those curves, that offset, so it maybe goes deeper into the part. But I just wanted to kind of finish the part for you, just so we can see it being finished. Anyway, I hope this helps with the flanges and fillets. Try it out, experiment, and see what you can do. All right, thanks.